Okay, now I'm hoping that we can deal with the last matter pertaining to the community boards quite quickly, which is item 16, governance, partnership and delegations. I know we've got a number of community board chairs and deputy chairs have remained for that item. I'm also very aware that we've got a number of people waiting in the public gallery for item 15, the Northern Corridor Downstream Effects Management Plan. So if we can next turn to item 16, community governance, partnership and delegations. Now, John, you're at the table in case there are any questions on this.
Yes.
Sarah has indicated that she'd like to move this. Phil has indicated he'd like to second it. So working in that context, we'll take questions first and then we'll move to debate. Are there any questions for John?
Yes.
Yanni. We forget that you're there and then your voice just kind of chimes in from the heavens.
Okay. I can... Yeah, okay, cool. I just wanted to check two things. One was, what resources are required to actually enable the boards to fulfil these delegations in the appropriate timeframes?
The answer to the question is primarily the existing resources that the boards have been given over the last few years. A governance manager, a governance team, community board, advisor, support officers, two of. A number of the proposed increases to delegation don't require a large amount of extra work, being that the boards already receive a report and consider these matters. A number of them they refer to council as a Part A. The primary changes are that there'll be no need for a referral as a Part A. The board will be the decision maker in their own right. So they are very much resource negative, and a number of the resources for this were anticipated and have already been provided.
Right, so the issue that some boards have had in terms of delays and frustration at getting things done, how is that being addressed through these changes to the delegations, especially if they're being asked to take on more with the same resource?
Sorry, Leanne, would you like me to answer?
Oh, sorry. Yep. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. Again, in reference to my last answer, these changes are largely do not result in an increase in workload, and boards' frustrations at getting things done is, I think, a topic far wider than the scope of this project. And I think we've seen an example earlier on in this council meeting of a broad Banks Peninsula bringing an issue to the council and getting a resolution. So I really can't comment too much in the context of this report and in this project.
But it stops the doubling up because community boards are already considering the issues.
Absolutely.
And then they come to council and argue for their decision to be confirmed by the council.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. All right.
Right. So if it turns out that there is an issue in terms of the new delegations and the ability for community boards to cope, e.g. get advice, make decisions in a timely fashion, we will be able to review that.
Yes, because I'm sorry, I'm not speaking for the staff, but as I read the report, it was crystal clear that this is intended to be a living, breathing document and that it will remain constantly under review with the ability to both add and subtract as required, but with full consultation with the community boards. I'm really thrilled that this has gone through such a good, positive process.
Right, and the second question was, it says that on the page 3577.8, future identified delegations include things like the modification of Plan A, but there's also been a request through this process for a number of years to review that now and to sort out the issue of metropolitan. We've just had one of the community boards, for example, talk about the lake the lake that's where the toilets are going, and so there's no clarification in here that deals with what's metropolitan and what's local and the ability to address the central city. Just wondering why not, given that's been a real issue of concern that's been raised for several years now. particularly in the central city ward.
Yep,
the Central
I
Healthcare
can answer
Community
that. This issue was brought up a number of times during the workshopping process, and as a result, an appendix was added to the proposed agreement detailing a process that would be used if there was any doubt whether an issue was either local or metropolitan. So broad brush, if it's a local issue, it's dealt with at the board, and that's very, very clear, and we've given examples. If there is any doubt, i.e. whether there are citywide implications, there's a detailed process that conforms to New Zealand local government law and has been run through the boards and consulted upon. Again, if this proves difficult, the first review is 6 months into the new term, and we'll certainly have a look at it. I think we'll be living and learning as we progress.
So can I just be really clear though? If something's metropolitan, the local board whose area the thing is in will be able to make a recommendation even if they're not making a decision. Is
Absolutely.
that... Absolutely. Right, so there's no ambiguity in this. From now on, that will be the case if we agree to these today.
Is that correct? So any metropolitan project that's in a particular ward, so most of them are in Linwood, Heathcote Central, be honest, that they will be able to make a submission, a recommendation to the council.
Yeah. That is a very, very high level question.
That was the question he asked, so that's why I wanted to clarify, because I didn't want you to say yes unless the answer was yes.
I'm going to ask for just a little bit of advice on that before I answer. Thank you for that. I've got some advice, and I draw councillors' attention to the proposed partnership agreement, which the section Community Board Participation in Council Decision Making. There are 6 bullet points that quite clearly spell out the agreed position of the council and the boards. The council will engage the community board early at a point where board feedback can be utilised in decision-making process.
Yeah, and it's community
so the issue
community boards will be engaged on metropolitan projects within their community board area. So it doesn't mean that we'll be inviting community boards to make, for example, a recommendation that the Linwood Central Heathcote Community Board to make a recommendation on the Metro Sports facility or anything like that.
Yep.
Right, so the lake issue that's in front of us, council, today, if these delegations go through, that board would provide engagement but not recommendations as we're getting today on that issue.
Sorry, which decision is Councillor Johansson referring to?
Rotu Kahutu Reserve, new toilets, car parking and access road improvements.
It's a citywide asset, it's a metropolitan asset, but that board has basically done all the engagement with the community. And I'm just trying to understand, going forward, if we agree to the delegations today, what that means.
Someone used that as an example. And
Could I say that if we'd been advised of this earlier, we would have done a bit of research and been better placed to answer this. We're not really placed to go in and do an assessment, follow the process, and come back with you with an answer now.
Well, how much time do you
I have raised, sorry, with respect...
Excuse me, Yanni. What I intend to do is just adjourn this item on the agenda because we've got another item that we need to deal with. I had hoped that this could be relatively smooth because it had been through such an intensive process with the community boards, but I'd rather that questions were asked and an opportunity was given for a reply. And perhaps if you use the example that's there, I would have thought that would become a community board decision. I understand that it has metropolitan interest, but it is not a thing that I would call it's not a, because it's within a local area.
as another example, I'm not keen to delegate that to a community board.
I just think, like, instead of
that.
The
we need to-
South West Leisure Centre is definitely still a council because it's got network implications and it's not purely a local facility.
Yeah.
And the red zone?
The red zone won't be, because
No.
there won't be a single decision
Yep.
required. Anyway,
Just as long as we're
look,
clear on
I'd
that.
rather adjourn this item and move on to the downstream effects paper. Yeah, sorry, Yanni, I wasn't aware that this was one of the
Good point,
three
Yanni.
items that you raised, so.
it was raised.
I will come back to that item.